Daf Yomi, tractate Bava Batra, page Kuf, Amud Beis, Daf 100b, page 100b, top of the page with the word Derech Harabim. Derech Harabim Shreish Esrei Amois, Derech Arei Miklat Shloishim, Ushtayim Amois, Amar Rav Huno, Maikro, Tichsiv Tochin Lecha Haderech, Derech Haderech. The standard width of a public thoroughfare is 16 cubits. A road leading to one of the cities of refuge must be at least 32 cubits wide. Rav Huna said, what is the verse from which this is derived? As it is written with regard to the cities of refuge, you shall prepare for yourself the way and divide the borders of your land, that the Lord your God caused you to inherit into 3 parts, so that every manslayer may flee there. Deuteronomy 19, verse 3. Instead of simply stating a way, the verse states the way, to indicate that the road must be twice as wide as a standard public thoroughfare. Derech HaMelech ein la shiur, Shamelech poretz geder lasos lo derech, ve'ein memachin biado. The Mishnah teaches the king's thoroughfare has no maximum measure. The Gemara explains this is because the halacha is that a king may breach the fence of an individual in order to create a thoroughfare for himself, and none may protest his actions. Derech hakever ein la shiur, mishum yikara deshachba. The Mishnah teaches the path for those accompanying a deceased person to a grave has no maximum measure. The Gemara explains this is due to the honor of the deceased. Hamamad Dayani Tzipori Amru Bas Arba Kabin Tanu Rabbanon Hamoichel Kivroi Derech Kivroi Makai Ma'amodoi Ubeis Hespedoi Boin B'nei Mishpacha V'Koy V'Renoisoi Al Kocha Mishum Pega Mishpacha. The Mishnah teaches with regard to the practice of standing and confronting the mourners following a funeral. The judges of Tzipori said that the standard requisite size is the area required for sowing 4 cob of seed. The sages taught in a Braita with regard to a family burial plot, even if one of the family sells the land designated for his own grave to another, or sells the path that will be used by the burial procession to his grave, or sells the place that will be used for standing and confronting his mourners, or sells the site that will be used for his eulogy, his family members may come and bury him in his grave even against the will of the buyer, due to the need to avoid a family flaw. In other words, harm to the family name that would arise if one of the family members was not buried with the rest of his family. Tanu Rabbanon. The sages taught in a Braise, Ein poiskin m'shiva b'mamodes m'shavos l'meis, keneged hevel avodim, omer koheles, hevel havolim hakol hovim. The sages taught in Braita, on their return from the burial, the mourners would stop after traveling a short distance and would sit to bewail the loss of the deceased. They would then stand and continue journeying for a short while, and then repeat the procedure. The mourners perform no fewer than 7 standings and sittings in honor of the deceased. These 7 correspond to the 7 references to vanity in the verse. Vanity of vanities, says Kohelet. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Ecclesiastes 1:2. Counting the plural term vanities as 2 references. Amar le Rav Acha berei de Rav Ashi Hechi Avdi. Amar Le Kedetanya Amar Yehuda Berishoiner Loi Hoy Poichas in Mishiva Mama Adois Umi Imoy Shavois Lemeis Kigoin Im Du Yikarim Amoidu Shavu Yikarim Shevu Amar Loi Im Kain Af B'Shabbos Mutar Lazis Kain. Rav Acha, the son of Rava, said to Rav Ashi, "How do they perform this ceremony?" Rav Ashi said to him that it is done as it is taught in a Braita. Rav Yehuda said that in Judea, initially they would perform no fewer than 7 standings and sittings in honor of the deceased. One of the procession would make a statement such as, "Stand, dear friends, stand," after which the mourners would continue on their journey to their home. And then he would say, "Sit down, dear friends, sit down," at which point they would sit. The rabbis said to him, "If so, that this is all that the practice entails, then it should be permitted to do so even on Shabbat, since there is no explicit eulogy of mourning, whereas the custom is not to do so." Ach te de Rami bar Papa havi nesiva leil Rav Avio shechiva avalei ma'amad umoshav. Rav Yosef ta'a b'chad b'tarti ta'a she'en oisin ela b'kroivim v'hu avad afilu b'rchoikim ta'a she'en oisim ela b'yom rishon v'hu avad b'yom sheni. The Gemara relates, the sister of Rami bar Papa was married to Rav Avia. When she died, Rav Avia performed the practice of standing and sitting for her. Rav Yosef said he erred in 2 matters. He erred as the ceremony is to be performed only with the participation of close family members, and he performed it even with a distant relative. And he erred again, as mourners should perform the ceremony only on the first day of mourning, the day of the burial, and he performed on the 2nd day. Abai Amar B'Hanamito Shein Oisin Ela B'Beis HaKvaros V'Hu Osa B'Ir Rav Amar B'Hanamito Shein Oisin Ela B'Koin Shinoga B'Hasam Loi Nahud. Abai said he also erred in this, as mourners should perform the ceremony only in the cemetery, but he performed it in the city. Rava said he also erred in this, as mourners should perform it only in a locale where people are accustomed to do so, but there where he performed it, it was not the custom to do so. Meisvei. The Gemara raises an objection. Amuloi im kain af b'Shabbos mutar lasis kain v'yemet v'esek kvaros b'yom rishon b'esek kvaros b'Shabbos might boi b'ir hasimucha l'beis hakvaros. The Gemara raises an objection to the claims of Rabbi Yosef and Abaye from the Braita cited above. The rabbi said to him, "If so, that this is all that the practice entails, then it should be permitted to do so even on Shabbat." The Gemara explains the objection. And if you say, as Abaye said, that the ceremony should be performed only in the cemetery, or as Rabbi Yosef said, on the first day, then how could it occur that the ceremony would be performed on Shabbat? What would anyone want to be doing in a cemetery on Shabbat when it is prohibited to perform a burial? The Gemara explains it could happen in a city that is close to the cemetery, and this is a case where they brought the deceased for burial at twilight just before the Shabbat began, and so that the return journey took place on Shabbat itself. Okay, that's the end of that, and a new Mishnah. The Mishnah says, "Makom lechaver lasas lekever, v'chein makom lechaver lasas lekever, oiset haicha shel ma'ara amois shel sheish, u'potzeach l'saicha shmoine kuchin shelo mikan v'shelo mikan, v'shnayim mibeglan, v'kuchin arkan arba amois v'roiman sheva." There is a case there's a case of the one who sells a plot of land to another in order for him to construct for himself an underground catacomb, and similarly, the case of a contractor who receives a plot of land from another under a commission to construct for him a catacomb. If the size of the catacomb was not specified, then he should make the inside of each burial chamber 4 cubits wide by 6 cubits long and open up into the chamber by digging into its walls 8 burial niches in which the coffins will rest. 3 niches should be opened up from the wall here along the neck of the chamber, and 3 from there along the other side, and 2 niches from the wall facing the entrance. And these niches should be formed so that their length is 4 cubits and their height is 7 handbreadths.